everybody, welcome to our weekly vlog. My name is Evelyn Kasina. I am a family IT consultant and the founder of EveMinute Communication Solutions. Over the last few weeks, I have been having very interesting conversation with parents. But there's this question that seems to be a concern to very many of them, and it is about strangers and pedophiles. Do they remain the biggest risk to our young children while they're online? I know that this is a very big concern to very many parents, but cyberbullying and exposure to age-inappropriate content, it still remains the biggest risk. But the benefits of your children being in the online world outweigh the negatives of it. And before we get into the positivity of our children being online, I would love us to look at strategies of how we can use the internet responsibly, effectively, and safely. And I know very many people ask me, do I have to monitor what my children are consuming? Do I have to always check on their phones? That is not sustainable. That is not a sustainable strategy, because the thing is, you are not with your children every time. And we need to be able to give them the power to be able to make choices of their own and believe that they can make sound decisions. So as we are going through this series, I said every week we'll just be untangling one area, another area where you feel we can empower you to raise your children in this internet generation. And so today, we're going to talk about safety and how can I keep my child safe online. Number one is make sure that you have talked about your family values. Very many people have values, they believe in different things, we are of a different culture, we are from a different denomination. If your children get to understand we do certain things because of our values, they get to make decisions based on it. They get to start coming up with identities based on their values. When they're going online, obviously start having discussions about the responsibility behind them owning a gadget. Owning a gadget is such a huge responsibility. You always have to answer the question, why do you have a gadget? If it's a phone, if it's an iPad, if it's a computer. Have that conversation of, you are going to have this access, these are my expectations, and these are the consequences should you break the rules. So by the time they're getting into the space of going online, creating their own personas, and when they're playing their things that we call avatars, we need to be able to start looking at how do they communicate online, what information are they sharing. So we need to start talking about private information and personal information. We need to model good digital citizenship to our own children. This includes creating screen time for them that is age appropriate and reasonable. If you have children who are below the age of 5, they need to be able to have 30 minutes of supervised screen time. Children between the age of 6 to the age of 9 or 10, they can have 2 hours of supervised screen time. That, by the way, is supposed to be divided between learning and entertainment. Children who are above 10, because they're also using now technology with their schoolwork, and they need to do a bit more research and learn a bit. That will depend from family to family and the reason why they're using this technology. But anything about 0 to 4 hours is appropriate for that age. The children should also give you a direct input to balance that screen time. So if it is 2 hours of learning, it is 2 hours of entertainment. If they want 1 hour of learning, again, have this debate about how much screen time they can use, so that when you're putting in the breaks, they get to understand when my screen time is over, I can transition into the next activity of the day. We need to be able to start discussing tech-free zones. And I will say this because maybe someone out there is wondering what is a tech-free zone. It is an area where is designated for an activity that technology does not play a role. I'll give you an example of tech-free zones in my own house. Number one is our bedrooms. We don't have portable devices in our bedrooms. We do not carry our phones to the toilet. And when we're having meals, we don't have technology anytime we're having any meal. It doesn't matter what it is. We also have a car tech-free zone where we actually either singing or we are having conversations with each other. We also have implemented recently tech-free zone during family gatherings, And this, I think, was informed by the fact that when we are also having family gatherings, very many people are distracted by the technology, by their gadgets, which means we are not having physical human conversations. So we need to be able to start creating tech-free zones. And this is the reason why it is very important for you to create these tech-free zones. When we find children hiding in their rooms with their portable gadgets, and I'll give an example of a school night, they might be playing a game way into the morning, which will affect their day in school. They also could be using more than the expected time for them to be on a screen, which affects their brain, it affects also their eyes, and they don't get to have enough sleep. And the more they are online, the more chances they are to get addicted into whatever content it is that they're consuming. It's also important for them to be able to, as their kids, to be able to use their gadgets in a common area, because that also gives them the idea that they cannot watch inappropriate content. And so we need to be able to have these conversations with our children. Why? Because we want to model digital citizens. They are living in the internet generation. So the fact remains that we cannot wish the internet away. We will expose our children in one way or another to the internet. If not in your house, it will be at the neighbors, it will be at the church, it will be in school. And the fact remains that one way or another your children will have access to the internet. So we need to be able to start modeling digital citizenship so that when they're online, they are safe, they're using it optimally, and they're using it effectively. And as we continue with this series, I need us to start thinking about what we discussed from day one, which was coming up with a reflection. We all have to have a reflection of what we're doing as we take an inventory and come up with a strategy, so that when we start implementing the tidbits that we shall have from this week onwards, we are able to implement them based on something that we have done in the past. And so next week, we are going to discuss about what else can children do while they're online, because I'm a firm believer that entertainment is good and everything, but our children need to harness technology so that they can also see the potential that they have within themselves when they're exposed to the digital world. And until next week, I wish you happy moments online and happy parenting.